welcome to another episode of Civic Bands brought to you by Budget Foundation. My name is Nancy Odimegu, yours truly. We are super excited to have you join us on this particular episode. So if you've not checked out our previous episode, please do so. Feel free to listen and drop your feedbacks and comment. Yes, so that's it. For today's episode, we'll be talking about democracy and how often it's been limited to an election cycle, right? Nigeria, for a country, let's take Nigeria for an example, is widely recognized as a democratic nation. But the true question is, what does democracy truly mean in practice for Nigeria? So more often than not, Nigeria's democratic engagement is reduced to two moments. I know I can say that off the top of my head. Election campaigns and on Democracy Day, which is June 12th. But democracy is more than just casting votes at every 4-year cycle. It's supposed to be a continuous process that is rooted with citizens' participation, accountability, institutional transparency. And this begs the question, should democracy be limited to election cycles? Going in on this conversation with us is Yvonne Eweka, Senior Program Manager, Election and Governance at the Co-Creation Hub, also known as CC Hub. Hi Yvonne, nice to have you join us today.
Hi Nancy, thanks for having me.
You look so nice.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you for joining us. So, should democracy be limited to election cycles? And we're looking at Nigeria as a focus country. So let's just get straight into it. Nigeria is a democratic nation by structure, but would you say we truly practice democracy? What we have, would you call it an ideal form of democracy? Let's hear you.
Okay, to take your first question, I love your introduction, which says that our democracy has been limited to just election day and the Democracy Day, which is now celebrated on June 12th. Elections are just one element of a democracy. True democracy is rooted in active citizenship, strong institution, accountability, transparency. So democracy should not be limited to elections. It's beyond elections. When elections happen, citizens are supposed to hold whoever they have voted into power, responsible, accountable, which are part of the principles of democracy. So my answer is no. Democracy should not be limited to elections because election is just an element of a democratic process.
So what we have Nigeria, because it's only when, take for instance, now this is 2025 election, the next election is 2027. 2026 campaign starts in a minute. That is when you see the young Nigerians coming out, in quotes, that's when they believe it's time for them to, fight for their democratic rights. So is that supposed to be the ideal? Is that supposed to be the ideal?
Okay, what we currently have in Nigeria now, I'll go by the definition by Abraham Lincoln, which says that democracy is the government of the people, for the people, and by the people.
Yeah.
If we go by that definition, yes, we have a democracy. But in practice, are we following the tenets of a democratic system? My answer will be no, because we do not stick, in my opinion, in Nigeria, to the principles of what a democracy should actually look like. Personally, I don't think we practice democracy the way it should be practiced.
Yes.
Because there are different elements that make up a democratic system. Strong institution, active citizenship, transparency, accountability, beyond elections. So what I see in Nigeria is everybody's focused on elections and we pay very little attention to other things that make us stronger as a democratic nation. So if we're to be practicing real and actual democracy, so on the top of my head, I want to see it like a quasi-democracy. We are neither here nor there. Yes, we go to election, majority vote, but how credible are these elections? Do citizens' voices actually matter during an election? Are citizens able to hold elected representatives to account, given the legal structures and institutions in place? And how strong actually are our institutions in terms of the protection of the right of citizens, allowing citizens' voices to count during election, allowing citizens to have freedom of information, allowing citizens to hold representatives to account, government being transparent with what is going on in government. Are citizens actually able to participate? When we are able to answer this question, then we can say that we have a democracy. So right now, I think, yes, we have a democracy. We are not there yet, but it's in between. So I would like to describe it as a quasi-democracy.
Thank you for that. A quasi-democracy. Now that will take us to the next question, and I love how you respond. If we can answer all of these questions, do we have strong institutions? Do we protect the right of citizens even before and after? Our answer alone will tell us if we have. So if you answer yes, we do, yes, we do, yes, we do, then of course, yes, you have a functioning.
Yes, also, because if you look at what has happened in the last 10 years in the election cycle,
Yeah.
it goes forth to buttress what I've just said, to say that a lot of things are still not gotten right yet. Yes, Nigeria is not there, but are we making conscious efforts to have a very strong democracy?
Yeah.
Yes, civil society, human rights defenders, they are pushing, but there are different limitations that hold them back, which I think needs to be addressed for us to be able to say Nigeria practices democracy in principle.
In principle. All right, I would come back to those challenges later on. But now let me pose this other question to you. How do we shift the culture of civic engagement from periodic to permanent among young Nigerians? We already established the fact that we are not there yet. Youth shouldn't just come out only when it's election to demand democracy. So how do we now shift this culture of civic engagement, making it look like it's supposed to be everyday lifestyle instead of periodic for 4 years to 2 years, as in the case of local government and presidential elections?
So I think citizens already know this, that elections are not just democracy. That is just an element, a part of what makes up the democracy. But the big question is, those things that hold citizens back, is government ready and willing to make them begin to work so that citizens can participate, they can get involved in the process? Because, for instance, citizens already know that it's not just enough to vote. They need to hold whoever they have voted into power to account, to deliver on their campaign promises. But because of lack of trust that we have seen over the years, a lot of citizens take the back seat because they feel my vote don't count. So they don't necessarily come out for election. But I think what we need to do as a collective is to know that government cannot do it all by themselves. We as citizens need to step into our power because the office of the citizen is the highest office in the land. You owe the power to choose whoever your representative is going to be, what is working in your local government, what is working in your state. I think it's time for citizens to get involved beyond elections. Yes, we know that there are things that hold us back. There are accountability issues that we deal with. But if you take the back seat, it's not going to change. We're only going to see an improvement when we begin to do the things we ought to do as citizens, begin to ask questions and put these people on the hot seat, because they know that power rests with the citizens, which is firstly what democracy is all about. The power lies with the citizens. So until citizens stand up and begin to ask important questions beyond just banters, making online noise on civic space, beyond just going on social media and ranting and all that, I think it's time for citizens to really sit back, look at the power they hold as citizens and begin to ask important questions. Ask your representative key questions. For instance, the Lagos State's local government election is coming up. I have done a bit of survey. Not everybody knows that election is even coming up.
Can you imagine?
Which is a big question. So there is a need for everyone to take this as an important part of their civic responsibility to participate in government beyond elections. So to shift citizens' culture from periodic, just waiting for election to happen and wait for another 4 years, another election cycle, we need to be very, very deliberate as citizens, as civil society organizations, as institutions who work in the intersection of democracy, technology, and elections, to begin to sensitize citizens. We need to do a lot of mindset reorientation to educate citizens on what their responsibilities are, what is expected of me as a citizen, and how do I participate actively. And also because there seems to be an information gap. So that's where digital democracy come in. Now that we have technology helping us to enhance and foster collaboration and also push out information, we need to use the digital civic space more to reach more people. We need to engage platforms to also reach those who do not have access to internet, to feed them with this information. Because if you look at our election cycles in the past years, you'll see that mostly during election, because of that information gap, citizens are taken for granted, especially those who do not have access to information. If you go to grassroots community, they barely know what their responsibilities are. So we need to come in as civil society and do a lot of mindset orientation, a lot of civic engagement and education at the grassroots level. So for people who are literate, who are in the digital spaces, they might have access to information. But what about the large population who is in the grassroots, underserved communities that do not have access to this information? We need to engage them through different platforms and tools as much as possible to educate them on what it means to participate in election, what it means to have a government that works, and what it means to also have development. Because at the end of the day, if your community is not developed, you are looking forward to the federal, whereas you are in the local and they are local representative. We need to also feed them with, trainings. For instance, our platform, our civic tech platform, GoVote, we have open source learning that people can come up to, learn at your own pace, understand the key issues. How do I begin to mobilize when I understand these issues? How do I ensure that people in my immediate environment also get this knowledge that I have? So I think we need to do a lot of grassroots work, a lot of engagement, a lot of civic education, a lot of collaborative action to be able to make sure that the minds of citizens are oriented. And it's not going to take, it's not going to happen now. It's a continuous process that we need to. But in the end, if we continue and we are consistent, we would see the result at the end of the day.
That was quite comprehensive. And I love how you say civil society has work to do also. So let's just hone in on it a little more. What role should institutions, civil society, and the media play in ensuring that democracy thrives beyond election? You said that so much needs to be done. We have the CSO, we have the media. So be intentional and be specific. What exactly is our role in making sure that, okay, democracy is beyond election and it thrives afterwards?
For democracy to thrive beyond election, civil society organization, key stakeholders, institutions need to invest more in education. We need to educate the citizenry on their roles, their responsibility, like I said earlier.
Yeah.
But more so because the civil society organization understand these things and they can be able to cascade this information in the simplest form. So their immediate community they already work with, because I want to believe that every civil society organization have groups in community and every other place that they work with. So they need to carve out civic education as a deliberate program in their work to be able to, especially for those who work in the electoral sector or they work across things that have to do with democracy, election, governance. Deliberate and consistent education. We do not need to wait for election, to come before we start, want to do
change and awareness.
Want to do awareness. It should be a continuum. So this is something we already do at GoVote, our civic tech platform that we use to simplify election information, because sincerely, some of this information we'll get them from the election management body, they can be difficult for citizens to understand. But what we have done is simplify this information on our platform and make them accessible to the citizenry, which I believe that's the budget team and other stakeholders are also working on. But I think there is need to, intensify the work that we are doing. So following the last election that we just had, I think that we need to do a lot of engagement, deliberate education beginning from now. We don't need to wait till election to start engaging, which is what we are already doing in GoVote, and Budget is doing, Connected Development, Yaga Africa, and some other organization. But I think there is still different segments of the civil society that need to come together more to foster this learning, to foster collaboration, For instance, every civil society organization has a community in different grassroots that they work with.
Yeah.
They need to deliberately incorporate civic education in their work for us to be able to get results faster. So education is key, and also citizens should have an open mind, because it's one thing for you as a civil society to want to impart knowledge. It's another thing for whoever you're imparting the knowledge to be willing. So we need to look at who are the gatekeepers, who are the stakeholders that we need to reach to be able to reach the citizens at the grassroots, and even the educated bloc who are on digital spaces and all that. How do we simplify this information to help them understand the nitty-gritty of why it is important to not just wait for every election cycle before they participate? The 2027 election is coming up. We'll see how things are going on in our country. I have conversations with people from time to time, and I listen to them talk. I hear their mindsets, and I see that we have a lot of work to do as civil society.
We have a lot of ground to cover.
Yeah, we have a lot of ground to cover, and the time starts now. Actually, 2027 is here. If you go online, if you go everywhere, you can see that campaign started trickling in, though not official, and so the time starts now. Actually.
Thank you very much. That's a drop the mic situation. The time starts now, actually. Boom, drop the mic. Thank you for that. So you mentioned some digital tools that we can leverage. So how can digital tools and platforms, like you mentioned GoVote as well, support sustained democratic participation and accountability?
So for platforms who are on the digital spaces, and civic tech tools, for instance, we are trying to bridge the information gap between citizens and government. GoVote is one of them. Budgets, I think Civic Hive platform.
Yeah.
Yaga is also very succinct with their information, and so many other CSO. So digital platform helps us to scale whatsoever information that we have, putting up on on websites, physical engagements and all that. Where I cannot reach physically, digital platform can help me reach there.
Yeah.
And also digital platform also helps us to reach the population that we want to target. For instance, if you want to reach women, if you want to reach youth clusters, whatsoever population you want to use, you can use digital platform to target them and send your information directly to them. So the algorithm pulls it to that demographic of people that you want the information. So digital platform has helped us to take campaigns beyond just the physical space to the online space and even the globe, because we live in a global village now, and any information you share now in Nigeria can be seen by anyone in any country of the world. So that's the power of social media. That's the power of digital platform, which I believe that now we have a lot of civic tech tools that is helping information to get to citizens faster. So for instance, if you put up an infographic, for instance, showing data of what the problems are, where we are, and where we want to take those data to be able to get policy reforms and solutions to those problems, citizens are able to understand, because those informations have been simplified beyond pile of elaborate books, PDF files and all that. So I think that's the power of social media, helping us to simplify information, get it to citizens faster, and get it to a wide range of audience beyond just our communities, our neighborhood and all that. For instance, you are also able to track to see what level of engagement your publication or whatever you have deployed to the digital space is getting, which is also a feedback mechanism for whoever has posted to be able to track who is watching, what are they saying. People can actually also give their feedback. For instance, you can put up a poll to ask for opinions to help inform whatsoever work you are doing or research. So that's the power of social media and digital tool. Technology in total has enhanced the way elections are being carried out, the way civic education campaigns are being carried out. But we need to also engage those who do not currently have access to these digital tools, so that we don't leave anyone behind.
Thank you for that. I like how technology in itself help us map out a specific group a specific cluster, like you said, if you're looking for women, is it youth, wherever they are in any part of the world, we can get our message across to them. But then, if you were to give Nigerians a message today, Nigerian citizens who believe that democracy, or who are still following the not so ideal cycle of waiting till the election before we start for our democratic right, if you were to give them a message, communicate something to them, what would it be?
Well, in local parlance, we say no sit down look.
No sit down.
No sit down look. Oh. As a citizen, if you are waiting for one magic to happen, it will not happen. You need to come out. You need to come out. I need to come out. My community needs to come out and get involved. Engage the system. Be involved in what happens. And so that you can be able to ask critical questions. Nobody can actually do it for you. For instance, if you don't come out to vote, those who come out to vote they want to decide whosoever is going to govern you for the next 4 to 8 years. Like you can see the tragedy. Most times people come into power, they want to do a second term.
Yeah.
So that person that you have refused to vote,
they
don't come out to vote for, might likely rule you for the next 4 to 8 years. So you don't have a choice at that point. So even if you feel like if I come out to vote, my candidate will not win, at least you have exercised your voting right. You have chosen your preferred candidate, and it's a continuum. If you begin to, engage the system, engage your community, and also look at vis-a-vis what are the campaign promises of these people, hold them to account, and educate your immediate community, they'll be able to make informed choices during elections. So no sit down look is what I need to tell the citizens out there. Yes, I know how you feel. I feel that way too, but we can't just sit back and allow things to, you need to get involved. So no sit down look, because if you don't come out to vote, whoever is coming out to vote, for instance, if you look at all the posters I'm seeing so far, it's just for one political party. And I'm wondering, is it just one political party that is contesting in this election?
Yeah.
If you don't come out to vote, whosoever votes and whosoever comes out as the winner of the election will rule you for the next 4 to 8 years. Depends on, how it turns out. So please don't sit and look. Get involved in the process, because at the end of the day, the power lies on the citizens to make informed choices, to continue to engage the system until we get to where we want to be. Because that's how it's going to happen.
Thank you very much. And I love how you explain it in pidgin and then you still give them in English, so anyone works for them. No sit down look. Please don't sit down and look. So choose your no sit down look wisely. The one that you understand, please use it. Okay, so where do you see Nigeria's democracy in the next 10 years? Yeah.
In the next 10 years, I don't want to judge by what is currently going on right now.
Okay.
For instance, if you look at what has been happening in the media, I think the media also have a huge role to play. I think I need to emphasize that. Beyond the work of civil society, human rights defenders, institutions and all that, the role of the media is also important, because the narrative in the media goes a long way in shaping what the citizens, think the situation really is, because the media can be used to shape a lot of narrative, either in the positive or in the negative. We need the media to do more. Yes, they are trying, but they need to do more. In my opinion, I think they need to do more to engage with the citizens and to push the right narrative. Yes, there are a lot of bad news out there, but there are a lot of good news also. How are we selling the good news? So, sort of reverberate that power, that spirit in citizens to see the positive rather than just the negative. So the media has a huge role to play to help us shape the narrative. 10 years from now, I see Nigeria making progress from where we are actually, because if you look at what has happened post EndSARS and everything up till now, you will know that the narrative has shifted. Citizens are more informed, even though a large block of our population is still not informed. But we have more informed electorates, more civic tech tools, which is helping to bridge the information gap. And also, citizens are becoming more aware, they are becoming more involved. Is it to the level that we want it? No. But are we making progress? Yes, I think we are making progress. And I think, like I earlier said, if we start now, towards the 2027 election, we will get more citizens informed to help them make whatsoever decision they want to make in the next election cycle. So 10 years from now, I think there will be a lot of progress, but at the same time, we all need to come together as a collective, work more collaboratively, foster an ecosystem where important knowledge is shared. The era of hoarding information is gone. Be more open, give more access to information, and help citizens understand the power that they hold. That's the crux of the matter for me. If you understand the power that you hold as a citizen, you will do exploits, seriously. So the power lies on the citizens, and at the same time, I see Nigeria making good progress from now. And as we continue to engage with more tech tools, more digital platform, I believe that information will be scaled beyond our wildest imagination. And as a collective.
Thank you very much. That feels like a closing charge. I'm still going to ask you the final question.
Oh yeah,
Because I mean, that summed it up. It summed it up amazingly, right? So just the last question before we free you. What's the way forward in building a more inclusive, participatory democracy in Nigeria? You've said a lot. I'm sure you must have even covered it in all the bits you've been giving us. But as a whole now, what's the way forward in building more inclusive and citizens participatory democracy in Nigeria?
So I'll summarize it in three. One, it's more education.
Okay.
More education of the citizenry. Two, it's access to information. We need to promote access to information from the civil society side, from the government side. Government needs to be more accessible, give more transparency to the work that they do to build citizens' confidence. Because what we have to deal with as civil society stakeholders that work in this space is a lot of lack of trust issues that citizens have in the government. So I think if we have more accountable leaders, more transparent institution, more transparent policies, it will help us to go a long way. And lastly, I think also citizens need to be more open-minded. They need to also seek knowledge beyond civil society coming to them. You as a citizen, ask questions. Try to know what is happening around you. In your immediate community, if you see a pothole somewhere, you need to ask questions.
Yeah.
Who is the representative in this constituency? Who is the councillor? Who is the chairman?
Yeah.
Everything does not revolve around the federal. You need to know the roles of the local government, the roles of the state, the roles of the federal government, to know at different points how to engage these different tiers of government. Because for instance, if something is wrong in your local community, you need to be able to engage your local representative and get solutions. So that's where the role of the citizen comes in. You need to deliberately learn to seek information to help you make progress in your community, rather than just allowing everything to fall to whoever is in power. Yes, you have elected them, but they are there representing you, so you should ask questions. You can't allow fear hold you back. They are your representative. You are the most important person in the equation as the citizen.
Yeah.
So you need to learn how to ask questions and also how to hold them to account. For instance, the local government, the state government also need to learn how to engage citizens in the right way and through the right platform. We have seen different engagements in the media, in the civic space and all that. But I also think that the government should learn to, engage the right people. We see the same faces sometimes in events and you're wondering, are these the people who really need this information? So it's a two-way street. The citizens need to, ask questions, important questions. Be curious about getting information to be able to hold their representative accountable, and government also needs to be more open with information sharing and more accessible to citizens. For instance, if I visit a local government, I should be able to see my chairman or my councillor. I shouldn't be restricted. But that mostly is done because if I don't know the power that I hold,
Yes.
yeah, I can go to the local government and somebody pushes me around. But if they know that I know my right and responsibility as a citizen, they will grant me access. So thank you very much, Nancy, for having me.
I don't really think citizens know the bulk of power that they wield, right? But like you said, education, and they should not stop asking questions. Thank you so much. We've been having this conversation. Should democracy be limited to election cycles? And we've been speaking with Yvonne Eweka. She's the Senior Programs Manager, Elections and Governance at the Co-Creation Hub, and she has done an excellent job in explaining citizens' role, the media role, civil society's role, even that of the government as well, and where we see ourselves in the next 10 years. Of course, we are progressing according to what he has said.
We are progressing.
We are not there yet, but of course we are going to get there. It all takes a collective. If I'm going to take one thing out of this, it takes us as a collective.
Collective action.
Collective action, everyone coming together and doing what needs to be done, and citizens understanding the office that they wield, which is the office of the citizen. Right, thank you so much for this. Thank you for taking the time for explaining this. We really appreciate you. That is the end on today's episode of Civic Bands.
Thank you so much for having me, Nancy. It's a pleasure being here.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you for granting us your audience. My name is Nancy Odimegu. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and also follow us on social media at BudgetNG. If you have questions, comments, if you even have more questions for our guests, please feel free, drop it in the comment section and we'll get back to you on that. I hope you enjoyed this particular episode and we'll see you in the next one.